16 or 17-year-old could take away from that story.
You're talking about the Charming Billy story?
Yes.
The story became part of Going After Cacciato, another novel of mine, and it was born in Vietnam. It was born out of two events that I combined into one through kind of reimagination. One was just a soldier who died of a heart attack, not caused by anything that I knew. I mean, nothing to do with the war. He just died of a heart attack, a young man. And the other was alluded to in Lynn's film. There was a day in July of 1969 when we were working with these things called tracks. They look like tanks. They're armored personnel carriers. They look like tanks, but without the big cannon. And we've been doing an operation for 2 days with these, and it was time to end the operation. We couldn't find the enemy. They found us. Time to go home, back to our base after, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. We got on the tracks, the infantry, to ride. We were sick of walking. We'd been walking for all these days, and we thought we were going to miss joyride home. Instead, almost immediately, we were going through a rice paddy, and we took a rocket-propelled grenade fire, and we all jumped off the tracks and took cover behind them. What we didn't know was that the standard operating procedure for tracks when they're under rocket-propelled grenade fire is to back up. And they backed up over us. We were in waist-high, mucky, paddy water. You could, and we were loaded with 60, 70, 80 pounds of stuff. And we couldn't move. You couldn't get your boots up to move in this muck. And a good friend of mine named McElhaney was squashed dead. We had to actually probe for his body to find him afterward. But the memory of one other guy was the inspiration for this story. His name was Page. He was a black guy. Never knew his first name. He was new to the company. And his leg had been run over by a track. And although his foot wasn't amputated, as it was in my story, it was close to amputated. It was just hanging from a little piece of bone, just a tiny sliver of, not even a whole bone, a shard of bone. And the blood was just pumping out of his foot, just pumping out, pumping. And the medics were trying to just grab with their hands. He's still lying in paddy water, just trying to squeeze his whatever you call what's left, this stump thing, so he won't bleed to death. And he kept saying, I'm going into shock, I'm going into shock, I can feel it, I'm going into shock, I'm going into shock. And it was that event. I don't know if this guy lived or died. To this day, I should look on the wall, because I know how to spell his last name. But he looked like he was going to die, and he looked like he was terrified of dying, not of his wound so much, but I'm going to die of shock. So he put together the heart attack and the shock, and you end up with a story called Charming Billy. Names and everything, the events are all different in the story. But that's where I think stories are born in more than one place. That just as Lynn's film is born in more than one place than Vietnam is born in her childhood and Ken's and what their interests are. And what surfaces for you as teachers and for America when they turn on the television set or buy a book is the consequence of so much that's not even the subject of the film. It's what draws us to subjects that come from all kinds of stuff back in our own lives.
She called that one Hemingway describes as the tip of the iceberg.